Good morning, afternoon, and evening, bedheads. Click. It's Karen from Ask the Spirit Guides. I don't know why I always laugh when I go click. I hope you're doing well today. This is one of our cute little mugs, Ask the Spirit Guides. So I am so excited. This is like my second coffee with Karen, 2 days in a row. Yesterday's was political. This one, I am so excited, you guys, about this book. Oh my gosh. I will link it below if you want to take a look at it. I have literally read like 20 pages and it has answered so much. It's not only answered things, but I'm going to read some of it to you, but it has brought some things together for me and a lot of stuff we've been talking about. First of all, I find it really amazing how many times I read a book and the message these are channeled messages from Quan Yin, which I love so much, getting to know this Ascended Master. So, and it's through David Scratton. Allison Chen is the one who wrote the book and actually had the conversation through Daniel Scratton to Quan Yin. Okay. So this is volume 1 too. It is full. I mean, even like the first couple pages, I was like, oh my God, I'm like underlining everything. It is so fascinating. So I just have to, this whole area on what is Ascension, that's what we're going to talk about. It just answers so many questions. And like I was saying, when you read some modern channelers' books, like different, and you listen to different people, the messages are really consistent. And I'm appreciating that. Because now, not like necessarily how they describe it sometimes, but there's some real consistency in what we're hearing across from different Ascended Masters that are channeled. And I think that is amazing. So this really, I was so excited about this. I was like, you know what? I got to do a coffee with Karen and we got to read through some of these things that I've underlined. Okay. So we'll talk about the Ascension right now. But I mean, I underlined so much even in the intro about this book. She talks about starseeds, and actually Quan Yin corrected her. We were just having this conversation the other day because I was like, what are starseeds exactly versus light workers versus, and then I opened this book and there's a whole section just in the intro about this. So she says, starseeds are generally recognized as people from other star systems. This is coming from Quan Yin, who have volunteered to come to Earth. They're from different star systems who have volunteered to come to Earth to assist humanity with ascension. Quan Yin corrected this assumption. Okay, so that's what Allison had thought, that is basically how it's generally recognized. How starseeds are generally recognized as people from other star systems who have volunteered to come to Earth to assist humanity with ascension. That sounds very consistent of things that I've heard. Okay. Quan Yin corrected this assumption and told me, this is what Allison is saying, that literally all on Earth are starseeds in origin. We just had this conversation with this last night. This is exactly what I was asking the lead team because I was confused, and the lead team said we are all. So that's cool. That was consistent. And then I read this the same night that I just posted that video last night. So yeah, so she says, literally all on Earth are starseeds in origin, and we are Earthlings, all with extraterrestrial lineages. It's just that those who call themselves starseeds are more aware of their star connections and their intent to help with the evolution of consciousness on Earth. Now, this book is called The Earth Experiment, and I think this is fascinating. I'm serious. Like, I almost couldn't go to bed last night, and I actually had a hard time sleeping because I don't know, I was kind of excited about this. The idea of the Earth experiment. So Quan Yin calls this an Earth experiment. And I just love that idea. I think that it resonates so well with me. The Earth experiment was brought forward in the conversation. It was a grand design of a melting pot for species in galaxies to come together and experience diversity in the fullest way possible. ETs have been the architects and implementers of the plan, and they have been closely involved with our creation and evolution, which means they, meaning us too. They are our ancestors, and they have co-created these major Earth experiences with us. Have you ever thought about that? It's really blowing my mind in such a good way to think of Earth this way, different. It's just different. And to think that our ancestors are actually the ETs. That's who we are. It's not that we're ETs, like not aliens, but like we're just all from different star systems. Again, I've heard somebody say that the first season of Star Trek is a documentary. So I've got to go. I haven't figured out where to watch it yet. I want to go through and watch it. She says, but more importantly, I found that we, the Earthlings, are standing at a culmination point where we are revisiting and making peace with our past and readying ourselves to graduate from this Earth experience in the upcoming cosmic ascension. As Quan Yin put it simply, it is a history of humanity that we have not been privy to. So that's the forgotten part. That's the amnesia part. We have not been privy to where we come from, so that we are obviously when we go to sleep and we're interacting with our higher selves and all that. But when we wake up, we wanted to have an Earth experience in this 3D. And actually in the first chapter too, she explains the 1D, the 2D, the 3D. It's fascinating. We're going to have lots of conversations about this. And if you have any questions, additional questions about what I'm talking about, put them in here. Put them in the comments today, and I'll pull them, and we'll do a lead team on these, okay? Because I'm not going to do lead team today. This is more a little coffee with Karen, so we can introduce some of the topics. So as Quan Yin put it simply, it is a history of humanity that we have not been privy to, the Earth experiment. And she gave her perspective on how and why we got here and what lies ahead with us. That's what's in the book, all right? So this was also interesting. It helped me understand how channelers work. So Daniel Scratton converts Quan Yin's higher dimensional energy into human thoughts and language for Allison, the writer of this book. So he converts the higher dimensional energy. So this is how people channel. I thought this was a good explanation of it. And he also turns my verbal questions, Allison's verbal questions, and written content into higher level energy for Quan Yin to answer and review. So what the channeler is doing is just translating the energy, which I found really interesting and helpful. I hadn't thought of the channelers like that before. So Quan Yin, who is Quan Yin? And get this, for those of you in the Spirit Circle, we just got done reading Mary Magdalene Revealed. Did you guys know that Quan Yin put Mary Magdalene on the Ascended Masters? She is living in the 12th dimension with the other Ascended Masters. I love that so much. I love that so much for Mary. Good job, Mary. So Quan Yin is an Ascended Master from the 12th dimension, where many other Ascended Masters reside. Some of the familiar names include Buddha, Yeshua, Jesus, Laotzu, is that how you pronounce it? Laotzu. Saint Germain, who we've done many conversations with Saint Germain here. Mary Magdalene, Sanat Kamara, I don't know how to pronounce that, and another one I do not know how to pronounce. I'm not even going to try. I'll spell it for you. Melchizedek. All ascended masters are enlightened master souls who have had experience in the entire universe. So we can all get there if we want to. They haven't. It's just that they have experience in the entire universe. So it's obviously they've been everywhere. They have incarnated as great teachers on Earth, sages and healers in our world and many other worlds. They hold the highest vibration of love and wisdom in the universe. So that's Quan Yin. That's where she's. And Quan Yin comes from the Buddhist religion, is what I believe is Buddhism. Okay, so let's just talk about what this is chapter 1. This is the introduction. What is Ascension? What is Ascension? So Allison says, Ascension is essentially a raising of consciousness and vibratory frequencies for planet Earth and all life forms on it. This upward movement will lift all on Earth to the 5th dimension from the 3rd and 4th dimensions where all life forms presently dwell. This is a gigantic undertaking set forth by the universe. Because remember, this is an Earth experiment, and they're saying the 3D basically is over. We're not even actually in 3D anymore. We're actually in the 4D. So Quan Yin says on December 21st, she's very exact, 2012. A lot of us have heard 2012. Astrologers talked about 2012. I wasn't talking about this stuff at this time, so I'd have to think back to what I was doing in 2012. It was the year before my mom died, actually. It was like 7 months before my mom died. So December 21st, she's very exact, 2012, we moved from the 3D to the 4D. So that's cool. So what's interesting to me is I've heard people say that souls that are just like, I'm not into this ascension right now in this physical body, they're like, I'm out of here. And my mom died 7 months later. And she was a very spiritual person. When we were children, under our Christmas tree, we would get books on angels. In fact, my sister and I, my sister still has the original. I got another copy of it. I didn't keep it, but a book on angels. So she always read stuff like this. But in her 50s and 60s, when I would talk to her about it, she was very upset about what was going on Earth and the kind of things like humans were doing. And she started questioning God. She started questioning, how could there be a God if this kind of stuff is happening? So I have a feeling she passed away 7 months later. And it did kind of, it was a whole story of how she passed away, but it was ridiculous. She ended up with sepsis, basically, or MRSA. But she had a knee replacement and the MRSA couldn't get healed and whatever. So, but yeah, so I kind of wonder if that's why she took off. I'll have to ask her. So, yeah, so we're not even in the 3D anymore, you guys. So we shouldn't even say 3D. We're in the 4D right now. Okay, continuing. Higher vibration is synonymous with higher intelligence and consciousness, or awareness, which is invariably linked with love and spirituality. So I'm just highlighting a few things that I underlined. But most will remain behind the veil of forgetfulness. Okay, so some people deliberately preserve this ability. So some people can get the sense of the 5D, and the veil is thinner for them, okay? But most will remain behind the veil of forgetfulness. It is a forgetfulness about our true identity as cosmic soul beings and not just humans in the flesh. This is by design, the forgetfulness, in order to have the experience we wanted to have on Earth. According to Quan Yin, Earth shifted into the fourth dimension on December 21st, 2012. We have been slowly but surely making progress towards the fifth dimension since then. Physically, our body will transform from a carbon base to a crystalline constitution that holds and conducts much more light energy. Now, Diana Cooper has been talking about this crystalline. In fact, in the Golden Future, which we have read in the Spirit Circle too, if you're in there now and you haven't read it, you could go through the whole conversation that we had, each chapter, and then read people's, the community's comments. But she's got even activities on how to adapt to the crystalline constitution that our bodies are switching into. So that's why a lot of us have had, well, everybody's been physically adapting to this carbon base to a crystalline, she calls it crystalline constitution, because that will allow us to hold more light. Spiritually, our human self will become our higher self. Did you hear that? Spiritually, our human self will become our higher self. The part of us holding a higher perspective from the fifth dimension and guiding our human experience. So what it sounds like, again, this is new way. That's why I was so excited about this. It was just different ways of explaining ascension, and so good. Like just written in a way that was so understandable for me, which is why I wanted to talk about it. I had not heard that. So our higher selves are basically merging. But how are they going to do that if our higher selves are having multiple experiences? Oh, maybe our higher selves are going to decide which fragment of us they want to merge, if they're going to, keep doing that. And maybe the other ones will transition. So if I transition, it's just because my higher self decided, I'm okay with that. My higher self decided it was time. I just don't want the transition to be dramatic. Let's just get it popping. Let's just go to sleep and have it done that way. That would be nice. Okay, so I'm asking for that. You can ask for these things. I'm asking for that right now. I would just like to die in my sleep. Although I don't think it would be a very nice experience for my husband, but I'm going to tell him that I'm asking for that, and maybe he'll ask for it, and then we'll just, expect it from each other, so that if ever, whichever one of us has to find the other, that's just how we'll have to deal with it. We'll talk about it. Okay. We will activate our divine connections and many innate capabilities such as telepathy, self-healing, teleportation, seeing into the future, accessing universal knowledge, which is really like the Earth experiment and where we really came from, and communicating with our soul family and higher dimensional beings. In addition, all systems, institutions, and our ways of living will evolve to reflect the fifth dimensional consciousness. All systems, institutions, and ways of living, which emphasize love and service to all. How much fun is that going to be? Which is why we are, that's why I think I'm moved to talk so much about trying to get rid of the division among humans, and how do we shift from this division to the unity, so that we can all be in service to each other, all of us, with love. During this process of transfer, this is the important part. Well, that's all important, but during this process of transformation, that's what we're going through right now. We know that, right? Negativity and darkness on our planet will seem to intensify at times. This is because the higher frequency energy is sweeping up all that is incompatible with a higher consciousness in order for it to be rooted out. So think about that. Like every time And I do think we need to send love to those who are getting swept because their egos are used to behaving in a certain way that they've been able to survive and feel probably joy out of. But now they're like, holy shit, the way I've been acting, my ego is not being appreciated anymore, because the higher, let me see how she put that again, the higher frequency energy is sweeping up. Think of it like that. I'm going to have to put a little broom on our somewhere in this video, sweeping up all that is incompatible with a higher consciousness in order for it to be rooted out. Many smooth changes and peaceful transitions can also be happening at the same time. So keep that in mind. The problem is depending on what you listen to and what you watch, we don't often see the smooth changes and peaceful transitions. Although we are starting to see it politically in the United States, because people are being elected based on what are they actually going to do for the, stopping with the labels. Unfortunately, those who are not, in the traditional parties are starting to call them communists, but in getting rid of the traditional labels and just doing things for the people, just for us, just like get something done, let's just do something instead of fighting with each other all the time. So, too many, this may sound too good to be true, and a fantasy that will never materialize. Anybody feeling that? So Quan Yin recognizes that. This notion that it's too much of a fantasy and will never be materialized, this notion is an exemplification of the third dimensional belief system. So if you stay in the third, it's, we're adjusting, you're so used to thinking in a third dimensional way that every once in a while I find myself being like, I don't get it. Like, how are we ever going to fix anything in this federal government? That is very third dimensional thinking, right? So it may sound too good to be true, and a fantasy that will never materialize. Indeed, we have had a long string of hardships and disheartening experiences on Earth that still haunt us today. But it is time to open our hearts and embrace the higher truths being revealed to us. It is different this time. Yay! Our third and fourth dimensional reincarnations are coming to an end. We've been talking about this for a while. Lead team has confirmed that as well. We are done with the karmic reincarnation process. So our third and fourth dimensional reincarnations are coming to an end. We are ready for the next level of experience. This is a plan by the universe, just like the Earth. So the Earth experiment basically is just shifting. A continuous influx of cosmic energy has been entering Earth to facilitate these changes. These energies are being sent from higher realms and our sun and other star systems, or they are engendered by eclipses and astronomical alignments. For us humans, a heart opening and awakening to love and truth is a good first step. We also need to heal our innermost and deepest wounds and traumas from eons of incarnating on this planet. We need to release the darker emotions before we can ascend. We've been talking about that too. We did a whole series on shadows in the Spirit Circle. So if you're in the Spirit Circle, you have that, there's a shadow workbook you could work through with me. It will always be there. It's in the second level of the Spirit Circle, the playlist for, it's the second level, the practice. Okay, last but not least, I'm so excited about this book. And I don't know that this is the book that our Spirit Circle is going to be choosing. I kind of feel like we should, but if you guys don't choose it as a group, we're choosing our next book right now, then I'll just keep bringing a little bit of it here. So highly encourage you to get it though. And if you want to get it, you get it through our link. It won't cost you any more to get it through a link, but it will support our channel a little bit. We get a little bit of a commission, pretty tiny actually. But you'll also support Allison and Daniel and Quan Yin. This is a great book. So this is a very challenging but very exciting time on planet Earth. It is a monumental milestone in our soul's journey. According to Quan Yin, Ascension is not a distant dream in the indefinite future, and we can look forward to seeing Ascension happen in our lifetime. What? Now, ours, like, it's hard to say, but I'm okay. Whatever needs to happen, we'll just come back again. You know what I mean? What time do we have? I feel like there's just a few other things. Like then in chapter 1, let's see. So she goes into our cosmic origin and purpose. Yeah, I was going to do a call out. I'll do a call out, you guys, on dimensions because this is fascinating. She says a dimension. So Allison says to Quan Yin, so now the rest of the book kind of goes into a conversation style between Allison and Quan Yin. And obviously Daniel Scratton is the one who's channeling it. So a dimension is not a different physical plane, but more an energetic sphere. We don't physically travel to it. So that was Allison's question. And Quan Yin said, you're just vibrating on a different frequency. Now, and then she goes into this concept of descension, which I'd never really, now I'm actually just reading this part of how we came from source. And source is in the highest dimension, obviously, which is, I think she said 15th or 13th dimension. She said 13th dimension. Source is in the 13th dimension. When we were born from source, we had to descend. We had to descend to get down to the 3D. And that took time, right? Because we had to adjust and descend because we wanted these experiences. I've never heard of anybody talking about descension. So this is what she said. People can understand source as the highest dimension, a non-physical one, where everything exists as love, as energy, as thought, vibration, and feeling, but not hard, solid matter. That's where you started. That's where we all started. And if a being decides to move from source into the density, into dense physical forms, they have to go through a process of descension. They have to move through various dimensions that will eventually land them in a physical one. And each of those dimensions is slightly more dense and more polarity. She explained it so well. There's a triangle. Think of it as the triangle. This is so fascinating. Source is up here at the very top. There's no polarity, none, because it's at the very tip. When you go down here, dimension 1, the first dimension is at the very bottom. The polarity is the farthest. And as you go up the dimensions, the polarity goes up. So as you can imagine, the 5th dimension, we're still going to have some polarity because we're up here we're still on the triangle. You're always going to have polarity. So even the Ascended Masters have polarity, but the polarity is it probably just comes and goes really fast, right? Isn't that fascinating? I thought that was so helpful to understand that way. That I will always understand it that way now. Every time I talk about it on the channel, I'll be talking about that triangle. That makes so much sense to me. So there is a first and second dimension, but she also mentions Triality and Quadrality. It's called Triality and Quadrality, which I think is probably for a whole nother conversation. So entering, yeah, I mean, this is just going to be, we got to read this book, you guys. So very much support the author, because I'm not going to sit here and read everything because that wouldn't support the author. So the authors, very cool, but so many things to talk about. Oh my God. All right. Let me know what you think. This was fun. I'm quite excited about this. Can you tell? A little excited about it. And thank you for having coffee with me, even though you might be seeing this at night. Click. Go have a little coffee. I'm not opposed to drinking coffee at night. I will drink coffee at like 7 p.m. and easily be able to go to sleep. Probably a little restless, but all right, you guys, I'll see you tomorrow. I hope this was helpful for you as well. So, all right, take care. Bye-bye.